new month, because they're coming up to Rosh Chodesh, the new month. We just finished Sukkot's holiday and Simchas Torah, Hoshana Rabbah, and now we are starting a new page. Today is Friday already. Today, according to the Jewish calendar, today and Shabbos is Rosh Chodesh. New month. New month, new beginnings, new and better blessings. Okay? To everybody. So we are having an amazing Parsha. I know you are tired of hearing that from me, but every Parsha is amazing. So what can I do? I have to tell you the truth. So we are going to be studying Parshas Noach at the beginning of the book of Genesis. This is the second Parsha in the book of Genesis. Now I want you to listen very carefully, because the Zohar, that's Kabbalah, says that the generation of the flood, which is this Parsha that we'll be studying, is very, very significant, because that generation of the flood, you'll have a Gilgul. Gilgul means a reincarnation. They will come to life again in the last generation before the coming of Messiah, and that's us. So when you study, pay attention to every word, because you are studying about your culture. You understand? Your culture. So your society, and above all, most importantly, about yourself, your own self. So listen carefully. Parshas Noach, tell you exactly which page. If you want to follow me, it's page 30 in the book of Genesis in the stone Chumash. If you don't have a Chumash in front of you, just listen to me, okay? Ela told us Noach, these are the generations of Noah. Noach ish tzaddik. Noach was a righteous man. Tomim hoyu b'davasof. He was complete in his generation. Esolakim his halich Noach. Noach walked with God. So if you've been with us in the past, you know that every word, every nuance is significant. In Hebrew, every word is definitive. Every word is definitive. So you have to understand, I always give you the same classical example, but I use that because that's easy for people to identify with. I always tell you that in English, in any other language, when you say why, you don't have answers. It just leaves you cynical and bitter. But when you say why in Hebrew, it means madua, madea, what do I learn from this? Or lama, lema, to what end is this happening? So you see, the words are definitive. I could do this with any word in the Hebrew alphabet, in the Hebrew language, except I do not want to spend time on that. And the reason why I always use why, because that's something that's pertinent to each and every person. Because we all ask why at one time or another, right? So, Ela, these are the generations of Noah. What does Noah mean? Noah is Nun Ches. If we reverse it, it spells Chen. What's Chen? Charming. When you say that somebody has Chen, doesn't necessarily mean that she is beautiful or that her nose is perfect, but it means that there is something charismatic about them. You just like them. Or when he has Chen, he's a Chenevdike person, that's a Yiddish way of saying it, there's something captivating about him, something that just enters your heart. So that's Chen. Noah was a Chen. He was very, very charismatic. But backwards. You soon find out why backwards. Okay? He did backwards because in the beginning he is Chen. At the end, his life is different. So he did it backwards. Noach also comes from menucha. He gave rest to his generation because he discovered the plow, how to plow the land. So it became easier. Noach was an amazing man. Ish, he was a man. Tzaddik, righteous. What does it mean, Ish? Told you every word is definitive? So what is Ish? In Yiddish, you say a mensch. Very often people come to me for a shidduch. I say, what are you looking for? Oh, I'm just looking for a mensch, Rebbetzin. Nothing special, just a mensch. Yes, really, mazel tov, just a mensch. That should be easy. That is the hardest thing to find. a mensch. Why? What does ish mean? Ish is made up of two words, aleph and yesh. Yesh means there is, and aleph is God. God is in this person. The way he talks, the way he presents himself, the way he communicates, you know it is ish. He's a man of God. There's only one person who is given that appellation ish consistently in the Torah, and that's Moshe Rabbeinu. Moses. So that's the greatest compliment that you could give somebody. He's a mensch. He's an ish. Tzaddik, righteous. Righteous doesn't mean just nice. Righteous is someone who lives by righteousness no matter what the temptations may be. Yosef was called righteous. He lived impeccably with the image of God in front of him, with the image of his father in front of him in a decadent society. He was the only Jew in Egypt. He never forgot his morals, his teachings. Righteous. But Dorosov in his generation, what do you mean in his generation? And what if he would have lived in another generation? It's a problem. Our sages have a discussion. If he would have lived in the generation of Abraham, he would have been eclipsed by Abraham. He would have been considered nothing, because next to Abraham, he was nothing, right? If he would have lived in a generation which he lived in, which was totally corrupt, he was tzaddik. That's why he was tzaddik, by comparison. On the other hand, some of our sages say, no, you're wrong. If he would have lived in the generation of Abraham, he would have become more righteous, because he would have had a wonderful Rebbe to learn from. It would have been amazing. So which one is true? Which one is it? Would he learn from Abraham and become a superstar? Would he be eclipsed by Abraham and become just any ordinary Joe? Which one is it? Whenever the Torah has two different opinions on something, it is Elu ve'elu divri Elokim Chaim. That's the teaching. This and that both are the words of the living God. So what does that mean? Both the words of the living God. Can it be? Isn't there a contradiction? Isn't there a conflict? No. There's no conflict. There's no contradiction. What does it mean then? How do you understand it? So listen again very carefully. At the end of the day, it depends on the individual, on the person. Because you could have the most righteous people living next door to you. If you don't want to hear what they say, you don't hear it. You could have the best examples. If you don't want to see it, you don't see it. Because you could ask, how come the generation of the Vilna Gaon, the great Vilna Gaon, that there were such rotten people also? Of course. How come in the generation of Moses? Moses had the most miserable people in his generation. Why did he learn from Moses? Korach, Dosim Varim, all kinds of people. All kinds of people. So you could have the best tutors, the best teachers, the best school. It depends on you. That's the end of the story. Whether you're going to listen or not listen. Whether you're going to take the lesson or not take the lesson. Have people living with you, actually living with you, and they don't get it. You have righteous fathers and righteous mothers, and the kids turn out to be, God forbid. So it's all in your generation, what you do with the teachings from your generation. Who becomes your mentor? Who becomes your idol? Who becomes your role model? Who is your role model? That's the question. Whether you listen or do you not listen. It says, a righteous in his generation. These are the generations of Noah. Generations? Do you see any children mentioned in this passage? No. It says these are the generations of Noah. Generation should mean children. No. You know what your generations really are? Because you don't know how your children will turn out. You have no idea with the best of effort. But there is only one place where you do have control. Me. You have control of me. So your generations are your good deeds. Or God forbid, your negative deeds. What are you leaving behind? What legacy? That you knew how to decorate a home? That you knew how to go shopping? What are you leaving behind? That you had $1 million in the bank? What are you leaving behind? That you played a good ball? Great basketball player? What are your generations? What are you leaving behind? That's why I always tell you, come to the Torah class. You should know how to listen, how to open your heart, and learn how to be the student of God. How do you learn that? From the book. The book speaks. The book speaks. Noah in this chapter is mentioned, in this passage is mentioned 3 times, the name Noah. Why 3? Because Noah lived through 3 worlds. Very few people lived through 3 worlds. He lived before the flood, during the flood, and after the flood. If I may, in all humility, I lived through 3 worlds as well. I lived before the Holocaust, I lived during the Holocaust, and I'm here now. Thank Hashem. I lived before Israel, and I lived to see Israel be created. And I was in the hell of Bergen-Belsen. 3 worlds. Now I pray to Hashem that together with all of you, I should live to see the 4th world. What's the 4th world? Mashiach coming. That's Hashem. So, Tomim, Buddha was, he was wholehearted. What do you mean Tomim, wholehearted? Tomim. Tomim means complete, pure, complete. And comes to Abraham, our father, it says, Hayet Tomim, become complete. Noah was born complete already. He was circumcised at birth. He was born circumcised. He never had to have birth. He was born circumcised. He was Tomim. He was totally complete. And by Abraham, it says, Hayet Tomim, become perfect. And yet, Noah could not make it in Jewish history. We never see Eloki Noach, the God of Noah, the God of Abraham. And it doesn't really make sense because Abraham had to discover God. I mean, Abraham's father was Terach, an idol worshipper. And he was 100 years old when God taught him, circumcise yourself. And here is Noah, he was circumcised at birth. I mean, he was born that way. And he had to work on becoming Tomim, perfect. Noah was perfect. So what is the Torah teaching us? Your imperfections are your perfections, and your perfections are your imperfections. Confusing? Yes. Think about it. I'll explain. If you think you are perfect, you are complete, you become arrogant, complacent. I could go to the beach and sun myself. I'm complete already. I have nothing to, grow for. I mean, I am it. I am it. If you realize that you are imperfect, going to strive to become perfect, and to be a Jew is to be always in a state of development, to go from one rung to another rung. If you make a mistake, what do we say? Sheva yipol tzadik v'kom. A righteous man falls 7 times, but he stands up. How do you become righteous? By standing up after you fall. But if you think I'm perfect, you don't have to stand up. You're up there already. And some people think that their imperfections are perfections, meaning what? That some people think that by pretending to be humble, they are doing their part. Like some people say, I I really realize I'm wrong in so many things. And because you say that, you think you're a real great guy. But you're saying that because you want to convey that I am so modest. I'm so humble. And they are saying that because it makes them feel better. You understand? I'm so modest. No one should ever say, I'm so modest. So when you realize you have to develop yourself, you have to grow spiritually, mentally, emotionally, you are never complete, then you are a Jew. And if you fall, you stand up again. And you become better. You learn from your mistakes. You learn from your past. Noah was complete at the end of his life. Before the parsha closes, there's total tragedy. Total tragedy. Tell you why. Here he's called Ish Tzaddik, right? He's righteous. Tomim, complete. At the end of his life, he's called Ish Hu Adomo, the man of the field, the man of the earth. Why? Now try to imagine this. Try to imagine this. You come out from an ark, and the only thing that you see is devastation. There's nobody left in the world. You're the only one. Oh my God. You're the only one. I know what that is, because after our liberation from the concentration camps, my Holy Father found out that he was the only son who survived from his own father's house, a great rabbinic dynasty. What do you do? What do you do? Where do you go? How do you pick it up? What do you do? You're the only one. And our anguish was nothing compared to Noah, the only man in the world. I don't know if you ever read the fictitious story of O. Henry. O. Henry wrote this short story. Sometimes you have chokhmah b'goyim. Non-Jewish people also could teach you something. So he tells this story, and the story is quite amazing. The story is that there is this nerd, a real nerd, and he loves to just sit in the library and look over the books. He doesn't talk to anybody. He can't stand it when people bother him. And he says, if only I could have some peace and read my books. And one day there is an atomic fallout, a nuclear fallout, and everybody is killed. And he wakes up. He's the only one. Everybody's gone. And amazingly, he notices the library is still standing. So now he has his dream fulfilled. He's going towards the library. And he bends down to pick up a book. And as he bends down to pick up the book, his eyeglasses fall down. Now he doesn't see without his eyeglasses. He's looking. Where are my eyeglasses? By mistake, because the eyeglasses are full of the rubble that fell down. He steps on it. There is no one to fix it. There's no place he can go. He's sitting with all his books and he cannot read. His wish came true, but to what end? Think about this story and apply it to your own life. We need each other. He, the nerd who thought he doesn't need anybody, needed someone to fix his glasses. Otherwise his life came to halt, and it did. No one left. Noah comes out of the ark. No one left. No one. In this whole world, no one. What does he do? What does he do? You know what he does? You know what my father did? Noah plants a vineyard he gets drunk. He can't take it. He has to escape reality. He drinks. You have a problem. How do you deal with it in our generation? You drink. You take a tranquilizer. You're out of it. A sleeping pill. Some drugs. Morphine. Something to ease your pain. Or you bury yourself in some stupid video game. If you can. It's not so easy. Like it is with drinking. Or with drugs. You can't face reality. You bury yourself. You drug yourself up. In this generation, more people are on drugs than ever in the history of mankind. You say to me, well, we never had such drugs. True. But we never had so many people asking for it. Because it's a quick fix. People cannot handle life. It's a quick fix. Give me a quickie. Everybody wants a fix. A quick fix. And they walk around like zombies. Blind, like the nerd who doesn't see the world anymore. Is this true or not? Is this so or not? So Noah comes out, he gets drunk. And our sages say that he should have planted wheat. Wheat, not a vineyard, wheat. Why wheat? Because with wheat you could create bread and you create a new generation. You know what my father did when he found out? His tears flowed from his eyes. His beard was drenched. And he said, Ich bet now ein Sach in Yiddish. I ask only one thing from Hashem, that all my generations should stay with Torah. And then he said to us, Kinderlach, children, will build a yeshiva so that our people should live again. That's what a Jew does. So we do not celebrate Noah as one of our fathers. We do not. And guess what else? I don't know if you ever noticed. Really in the Torah there are no birthday celebrations. There is only one who had a birthday celebration. You know who? Pharaoh. Why don't we celebrate birthdays? Please don't misunderstand. I'm not telling you there is something wrong with celebrating birthday. It's totally kosher. But why don't we have it in the Torah? Because we celebrate Yortzeits. Yortzeit. Anyone who had a Yortzeit, you make a kiddush. Kiddush for the Yortzeit. What are you making a kiddush for the Yortzeit? What are you bringing food? Schnapps, you're drinking. Yortzeit. In the early class that I had, somebody had Yortzeit. They had a huge table with food. Is that going to help the person who died? What are you celebrating? If you open any of the Yiddish papers, the Jewish papers, any of them, so many stories about Yortzeit, who died on this day, this one, that Rebbe, that Rebbetzin, Yortzeit. Why? You know why? Birthdays are meaningless. You don't know it will be at the end, just like by Noah. Sure, we wish Mazel Tov, but how will that person turn out? You have any guarantees? Any guarantees? What are you celebrating there? Wait until the game is over. You never know who will win. When the ship goes off, you wave. Good luck. When the ship comes safely back to port, oh, thank God, I'm so happy to see you. Yes or no? When the ship departs, you wave. God should be with you. Safe journey. Safe journey. And your heart is beating. It's your daughter. It's your son. It's your wife. It's your sister. It's your brother. It's your teacher who you love. Oh, God, watch over them. Please, God, let them come back whole and healthy. True or not? When the ship returns to port, oh, I'm so glad to see you. Tell me, how was it? Oh, you look great. We celebrate your side. It was a great journey. A great journey, Mom. It was a great journey. And then some people come back. It was a terrible, catastrophic journey. So we celebrate your sides. And we say to the neshama that's up there, congratulations. We remember you. You know why we remember you? Because we still love you. Great act. When somebody is on the stage and the curtain falls, and if the audience boos, oh, finally it's over, wasn't a good play. But if somebody is in a play, and when the curtain falls, everyone stands up and shouts, hooray, encore, encore, encore. Isn't that true? You go to a standing ovation. So my husband, before he departed from this world, he had many, many papers, all kinds of papers, all over the house. And I always told him, you know, as the children got married, he took over every room with his papers. I've got annoyed. All these papers, why don't you throw it out? Well, today I am full of papers, I must tell you. But I have no one to tell me throw out the papers. In any event, after I got up from Shiva, I had to go through all his papers. It was a very painful process, as you can imagine. And every time I touched the papers, I was so sorry, I was upset with the papers. And then I came across a sheet of paper. It said, in his beautiful handwriting, a long life is not good enough, but a good life is long enough. Thank you. Think about it. Absorb it. A long life is not good enough. So you live to be 100. What did you do during those 100 years? You live to be whatever it is, but you accomplished, left behind a legacy, if nothing else, a kind smile. I know a lady who went to Hashem. You know what she left behind besides her daughter? You know what else she left behind? She left behind beautiful memories, people whom she touched with a smile, even the doorman. Even the doorman. How many lives did you touch? A long life is not good enough. A good life is long enough. Thank you. That's the note I found. I never forgot it. I put it into my book, The Committed Life. So children, we don't believe in birthdays, nor is the perfect proof of it. He was excellent at his birth. He debased himself at the end of days. A tragedy upon Noah. A tragedy. So he never made it. And there is one more difference. Why? He's not called Elokei Noach. You see, Elokei Abraham, God of Abraham, Elokei Yitzchak, God of Isaac, Elokei Yaakov, God of Jacob. He was such a good man, Noah, right? He had charisma. He was tzaddik. He was tumim. All the good things. He was born circumcised, so why didn't he make it? I tell you why. Listen carefully. Be studying in a few moments. that God tells Noah to build an ark because he's going to destroy the world. And he will save Noah. What does Noah do? What does he say? Thank you. Thank you so much. He builds his ark. Takes him 120 years because God wanted to be built in 120 years. So people should ask, what are you doing? What are you doing? I'm building an ark. Why? Because there's going to be a flood. You know what? Nobody listened. Today we have incredible wake-up calls. I'm not talking about the Holocaust. The Holocaust was a wake-up call in and of itself. It's gone already. God gave us, for most people, it's gone. God gave us good years in between, so we should recover. We should recover. And we recovered so well that we forgot it already. People don't know anything about it. They erased it from their memories. Oh yes, they have museums, but it's a museum. Everybody's always happy to build the Holocaust Museum. Thank you. I don't need museums. I don't need museums for my people. I need life for my people. So, good years passed by. We forgot. So God sends us new reminders, new wake-up calls. From 9/11 till this moment, every day a different wake-up call. And just lately we have been getting so many that it's dizzying. One after another. One after another. The last one, and mind you, somebody just last week or maybe 2 weeks ago said to me, Rebbetzin, you compare the situation today to the 10 plagues that fell upon Egypt. But Rebbetzin, you explained it all, it makes sense, but we didn't have wild beasts because in ancient Egypt, wild beasts entered into the cities, into civilization. They left their jungle. I said, really, we didn't have? What happened in Ohio? Can you imagine getting up in the morning, you look out of the window, there's a tiger, there's a lion, a lioness, a wolf, a bear. Oh my God, oh my God. Am I dreaming? Is this a nightmare? Can you imagine that? Do you understand? Did it happen or am I telling you a story? One after another. One plague after another. Wall Street collapses. Who would have believed it? Would you have believed it? Bed bugs, kinim, like, lice, bed bugs in New York. And could go on. Tsunamis, volcanoes, earthquakes, one after another. We don't even listen anymore. And now a new earthquake in Turkey. Who's listening? Who cares? We got immune to it. Do we listen to the wake-up calls? No. So Hashem, nothing has changed. Nothing has changed. Hashem tells him, at least build the ark in 120 years. 120 years should give you enough time. People will look. People will ask, what are you doing? You know what? Everybody asked. You know what everybody said? Meshugana. A nutcase. Should be institutionalized. A nutcase. So Noah said, thank you for saving me. He built his ark, but he never made a Hineni. He never attempted to reach hearts and souls. I want you to know when I started Hineni almost 50 years ago, we were the first Baal Tshuva movement on the planet, unless they were before these centuries. But here it was the first one. There's nothing before it. Nothing. Lubavitch Hasidic movement became Baal Tshuva by a Hasidic movement. And for everybody. Not just for Baal Tshuvas, for everybody. Because Lubavitch was a shtetl in Europe where the Rebbe was. And reached out worldwide, a wonderful organization, but specifically to reach out To the secular Jew, was unheard of. And when I started, everybody laughed at me. The Orthodox laughed that they won't last. It's ridiculous. And secular people said, oh no, we don't want to hear you, because I was a threat. Same thing happened in the days of Noah. Nobody listened. 120 years, nobody listens. Now, Abraham, our father Abraham, is told by the angel of God, I'm going to destroy Sodom. God is destroying Sodom. What Sodom was? The most cruel, the most barbaric place on planet Earth. It was paradise as far as the climate, as far as the scenery was concerned. The lush fruits that grew there. But the behavior of people was called Sodom because every person who came there was sodomized. It was a capital crime to give food to a stranger because they considered all strangers parasites. A capital crime. It was a city that was based upon evil. That was the law of the land. God sent messages to Sodom. They didn't listen. So God destroyed Sodom. You go to Israel, you go to Sodom, you see it's still dead. It has the Dead Sea and nothing can grow there. God made that curse on Sodom. But, the angel comes to Abraham and says, God says, I should tell you that he's going to destroy Sodom. Anybody in their right mind would have said, good, it's about time. They're miserable. They're awful. It's about time. Wipe them out, God. You know what Abraham said? God, please don't do that. You cannot do that. You are the God of mercy and compassion. What if I find just 50 righteous people in the entire city? Will you save the city? It starts bargaining. Yes, I will, God says. What if I don't know 50 people? So it keeps going down, 45, 40, keeps going. And the aren't turning until it comes to the number 10. And you go below that. Because if you cannot find 10, if you don't have a minion, then the city cannot survive. You need a minion. Speaking of it tonight, before the night is over, gentlemen, stay for the minion. Save our generation. Every time you have a question, should I go to minion, should I not go to minion? Go to minion. It's for all the man. Minion. So our father Abraham struggled and fought for the evil people of Sodom. Moshe Rabbeinu, the shepherd of Israel, the greatest rabbi, who was given so much anguish and hurt, he was inflicted so much hurt by the Jewish people, by his generation. God says, after the golden calf, I will destroy this nation and I will rebuild them through you. You know what Moshe says? God, if you do that, if you destroy the Jewish people, then you will have to erase my name from your book. I will have no part in it. You are not going to build for me a new nation. I don't want it. I want this nation. Noah is told, I will destroy the world. I'm going to tell you to build an ark and I will save you. He should have said, God, I have no interest in that at all. I don't want it. You must save this generation. I will go from house to house. I will do whatever I can. But he never said those words. He never said those words. Could have, of course, you could tell me that he knew they wouldn't listen. That's nonsense. If something hurts you, then you have to scream. You have to cry. If somebody punches you and you don't react, that means your nerves are dead. You have to cry out. Even if you think that won't help, but it's automatic, your heart is hurting. When Pharaoh came up with his malevolent plan to destroy the Jewish people, Then he spoke to the cabinet about it. Bilam, the evil prophet, said, do it, destroy them. And Job said, he couldn't talk. You know why? Because Jethro spoke first. And Jethro said, you cannot do that, Pharaoh. So he wanted to kill Jethro, and Jethro escaped with his life. He ran to Moab, to Midian. And over there, Jethro met Moses later and became the father-in-law of Moses. And he married the daughters of Jethro, the daughter of Jethro, Zipporah, who converted. Bilam had a nasty end. He was killed. And Job, because he kept quiet, lost all his wealth, all his family, lost everything. So he said, God, why are you doing this to me? So God says to him, now you ask. When did you ask? When Pharaoh was making his plans to destroy your people? He said, I saw what happened to Jethro. He had to run for his life. He would have killed me also. It was no avail. So God says to him, you have no business to say that. You have to cry out. If you don't cry out, it means that it doesn't hurt you. That your nerves in your heart are dead. Never forget that. That's why Noah never made it. He's in the ark now. Fast forward. And you think it's wonderful in the ark, right? You think it's just great there. Nice Bible stories. Here comes Mr. and Mrs. Elephant, Mr. and Mrs. Lion, Mr. and Mrs. Giraffe. Look how cute. You know what it was there? It was hell. Hell on earth. Can you imagine all these animals screaming and growling? Can you imagine the stench? No air conditioning. You can't open windows. There are no windows. Can you imagine just the stench? Can you imagine feeding them? Do you know that Noah, for all the time that he was in the ark, never went to sleep? For a few seconds he had a cat nap. You know why he couldn't go to sleep? He couldn't get done. And on one occasion he was late bringing the food to the lion. The lion bit his legs. And he screamed out. And God said, if only you would have screamed. If only you would have screamed when I told you I will destroy mankind. Whenever you see something wrong, you speak up. In this world of ours, we have a few righteous people. Do they speak up? No. Everyone is silent. So much evil in this world. Everyone is silent. So now you know why Job became poor. Now you know why Noah never made it. He's the father of humanity, but he's not the father of the Jewish people. We are a nation of Rachmanim ubnei Rachmanim, compassionate ones, and children of compassionate ones. So let's continue now. And we go to the next sentence. Wait, I'm sorry, I didn't do this one. Esoakim hishalech Noach. Noah walked with God. And Abraham was told, walk ahead of God. What's the difference? If you walk with somebody, that means the person you are walking with needs help. Like when my parents became elderly, I had to walk with them. Abraham walked in front of God. Abraham was the trailblazer for God, made God the king of the universe, of all mankind. He introduced God to humanity. Until Abraham came along, the entire world was a pagan world, worshipped idols. Abraham was the trailblazer for God. Noah had to walk with God. If God didn't hold him, he had no strength. Everybody follows me. Big difference. We Jews are the children of Abraham. We are trailblazers for God. We taught all of mankind the word God. We taught all of mankind to pray. We taught all of mankind the meaning of justice and truth, because until we came along, there was no justice, there was no compassion in this world. People were killed with impunity. It wasn't a crime to kill. If you're a murderer, when held guilty, you're able to kill with impunity. So now we go. Next passage. So listen carefully. Vayolad Noach shlosha bonim, and Noach gave birth to 3 sons, as Shem, as Ham, as Yophes. 3 sons. From these 3 sons, the entire world was populated. Shem, Ham, and Yophes. Okay? Noah is mentioned 3 times, also because with all 3 sons, he dealt equally. He never had favoritism for one child over the other. Why is the Torah saying that to us? So we should know. It's not only what the parents give, it's what the child wants to do with it. He assigned to each of them a mission. It has nothing to do with the parents. Each of them were given a mission with the same love. Each of them turned out differently. All of mankind comes from these 3 sons. Shem. Who is Shem? Shem followed the Torah teachings of Adam. Shem, the son Shem, was given the mission to identify everything by name. Why is that important? Because you have to make a distinction between right and wrong. You have to know that which each thing and each person represents. So, for example, Adam was told by God to name everything here on planet Earth. So the first thing that he had to name was himself. Name yourself. What he said, my name is Adam. Comes from the word Adama, earth. Also from the word dam, blood. Because he understood that he is made up, it's a composite of blood and earth. Why didn't he call himself neshama, soul? Why don't you call yourself neshama, soul? Or nefesh? Why neshama? Why not neshama? Why Adam? You know why? Because he was a very smart Adam. He understood that in order for the neshama to be preserved, he has to have his Odom part in control. He has to control that which is his earthly part, because otherwise the earthly part will control the neshama and his life will become just a tragedy. So you always have to ask yourself, who is in control of me, my neshama or my physical self? Who is in charge? 2 people cannot drive a car. Only 1 person could be in the driver's seat. You know that. Is it your neshama? Is it your animal self? Because God, when he created man, invited all creatures to contribute to the creation of man. All creatures. A man can be a little bit of a pig. A man can be a little bit of a lion, a little bit of a snake, a little bit of a rat, and so on. So your Adamo part, your earthly part, has to be always watched, and you have to be always in control, so your neshama should not get lost. So now, Noah makes this mission of identifying everything as a purpose in life. He gives it to 1 son, Shem. We are all Jews. We are all descendants of Shem. That's why those who hate us are anti-Shemites. You understand? In the English language, there is no such word as, no such letter, as sh. So anti-Shemites becomes anti-Semites. Those who hate us are called anti-Shemites, anti-Semites. So it's a very tricky thing. Because, for example, you identify culture, art, music. This is music, this is art, really. Just see what the world considers art today. Remember there was some years ago the Mapplethorpe collection, where one of the paintings displayed. He was the mayor then, what's his name, Giuliani. Giuliani was the mayor then and didn't allow it. But the Mapplethorpe collection was shown in the finest museums. You know what they had? A man urinating. Art. Art. Do you understand this? Music. Just listen to the music of today. Just listen to it. Art. Just see the fashion of the fashion. That's fashion. People are dressed like sluts, like nothing. Am I telling you the truth or not? That's fashion. I'm sorry to use this language, but unless you use language, you don't understand it. Because people always try to hide behind different words, you know. It's a procedure, it's not surgery, it's just a procedure. It's art, it's music, it's not music. It's trash. It's trash. It's not culture, it's trash. And our generation reflects it. So shame has a big job. But when shame loses his sense of purpose and he makes identifications that are wrong, then you destroy society. And I tell you honestly, I'm ashamed to say this, but we, the Jewish people, are very responsible for this because it is our mission to identify that which is right and that which is wrong. And we made culture part of this decadence. Part of this decadence. We identified it as culture. Then there is chum. Chum means enthusiasm, passion. Very important. Somebody says, hi, hi. Then say, how are you? It's a big difference. You wake up in the morning, I am so tired. I can't take it. I just can't take it. I'm going back to sleep. I need 10 more minutes. I just can't take it. I just can't. Oh, I have no strength. And then you wake up in the morning. Kumula, Vodat, Habove, get up and serve your Creator. Jump out of bed. I'm tired, but I'm jumping out. Is there a difference? Either you go around the whole day, or you go around with, I have a mission. I have a purpose. You have to know this. You have to understand this. It says, Ishkafi mahalala, each man is judged by that which makes him enthusiastic, exciting. What makes you excited? That's your homework tonight. What makes you excited? That will tell you something about yourself. A gourmet dinner. You saw Madonna? Oh, she was walking on the street. I really saw her. I went over, I got an autograph. Can you imagine? I'm going to keep that. Oh, that was some ball game. Oh my gosh, you can't imagine. Did you see that shot? Did you see that home run? Oh my gosh. Oh, you missed it. It was the best thing in the world. Enthusiasm for what? For what? Oh, I made $2 million. And you're jumping up and down. Enthusiasm for what? Just think of a big hall, and there are rooms, cubbies. In one room you have somebody with a computer and has amazing programs. In another room you have a Hollywood star. In another room, one of these singers. In another room, somebody from Wall Street who's telling you how to make good investments. In another room, you have a baseball star, a sports star, basketball. And there is one room that is an old rabbi, a great sage. Which room will you go into? Don't tell me, but ask yourself. Which room? How many people do you think in our generation would go into the rabbi's room? Chum, enthusiasm for what? And then there is Yofes. Yofes means beauty. Greeks, the Greek architecture, the Greek architecture came from Yofes, the beauty of Greece. If you ever read James Michener's The Source, it's a very wonderful book. It's a novel, but it's based upon history. And he speaks about the time when we Jews have the celebration of Hanukkah. And he examines the days when Jewish people were occupied by Greece, and Greece took over, the Greek culture took over. So if you know something about history of Greece, the early history, you know they loved, they worshipped the Olympics, the body, the beauty of the body. And that was their whole purpose and their whole aim. So when they occupied the land of Israel, they made bris milo, they made circumcision, something that could be punished by death. Punished by death. Capital punishment. Circumcision, capital punishment. And if you read the book, you will see that there were many Jews, assimilated Jews, who became Hellenists, became part of the Greek culture, and they wanted to participate in the Olympics. And they wanted to go to the pools, you know, where they were bathing all the time. And in order to participate in the Olympics in the nude, or go to the pools because they worshipped the body, they went through plastic surgery to cover the sign of the circumcision. Do you understand this? Beauty is wonderful. We need harmony. We need beauty. It's a wonderful thing. Beauty in life is wonderful, but not when it comes an end in itself without God. Everything could go this way or that way. This way or that way. Movie actors, movie actresses who commit suicide because their face reflected in the mirror is no longer what it used to be. They're getting old. Beauty for its own sake. Obsession with more plastic surgery, more plastic surgery, another plastic surgery. Bodybuilding. I'm not saying you shouldn't exercise. God forbid, everybody should. I'm not saying that you shouldn't put on makeup and try to look as lovely as you can, but to worship that, to make that an end in and of itself. Do you understand what I'm saying, friends? So these were the three pillars upon which Noah tried to build the world. It didn't work. So I'll give you one last passage now. I won't even go to the book because we don't have time. So Noah is told to build the ark. And he's told, tevo is the word for ark. So go within the tevo into the ark. Remember what I told you about the Hebrew language? That's definitive. The word tevo also means the letters of the aleph base. The letters of the aleph base. So what does that mean? The letters of the aleph base. Listen carefully. God created this world with the letters of the aleph base. It's very mystical. Even the Golem of Prague by the Maharal of Prague was created by the Maharal with the letters of the aleph base. The letters of the aleph base have tremendous secrets. So God says to Noah, place a tzohar in the ark for illumination. So sages ask, what is a tzohar? What is a tzohar? So some sages say it was a window. Others say it was a jewel. Can that be? Absolutely not. Ridiculous. You know why? Because in vain would you place a window in the ark for illumination, for light. It was pitch dark outside. There's a flood. The window doesn't give you light. A jewel? Come on. A little jewel or a big jewel is going to give illumination in the whole ark with floors? Come on. And they had no electricity in those days. So what does it mean? Listen carefully. Go into the aleph base. The word tzohar can also be spelled by saying tzoros. What tzora is? Tzora? When you say in Yiddish, tzoros? Trouble. Not trouble the cleaning lady didn't come. Not trouble I had a flat. Not trouble, I lost my job, but trouble where you fall asleep for 10 minutes and you wake up shouting and screaming and you say, it cannot be, it cannot be. Because you fall asleep from sheer exhaustion. We had that in Bergen-Belsen. And I had it most recently when my husband became ill with cancer. 7 short weeks. I was in the hospital 24/7 except to come to teach over here on Thursdays because my husband insisted I should do that. I would collapse from exhaustion and my eyes would close. And a few minutes later I woke up screaming, it cannot be, it cannot be. But it was. It wasn't a nightmare, it was reality. Reality. So the people in the ark had service. Service. What do you do when you have service? Torah says build windows. What do you mean build windows? See what you can do to help the world be better. Make windows so you should not see yourself, but you should see the needs of others. Make the world better. And if you can do that, and it depends on only one thing, you say, I can't. Oh, yes, you can. What depends on? Because from the same word, tzohar, could create the word rotzo. Rotzo means desire. If that is your desire to create a window, you'll create a window. And if you can do that, you're going to have a jewel. Your life will become a jewel. Never get stuck in service. Build windows. My husband passed away. And when I got up from Shiva, I wrote my book in his memory. An old lady came to me once and she said, she can't take it more. She sees that she's going to be dying. I said, sweetheart, you don't know who goes first, who goes last. You don't know how many years you have left. I grant you that. But instead of worrying about the fact that you'll be dying, which everybody does at one time or another, whenever God calls you, worry about today, how you could make this day into a jewel. I could look through the windows instead of sitting here comatose and crying. Look through the window and create jewels. And I'll tell you one last story, and with this we conclude, which summarizes everything. I told you that Noah never made it in Jewish history. It was never when Abraham or Moses who fought and cried. We call this Mesiras Nefesh, to give up your soul for God. To sacrifice. Today somebody thinks they're sacrificing if they have somebody over for lunch or let them sleep over. That's a big sacrifice. I invited them. They slept over. You know what sacrifice is? My grandson and his wife are trying to find a new residence. So they went with an agent, a lady. And somehow she found out that they were my grandchildren. So she got all weepy. And she said that her father-in-law, who is a very old man now, lives in Belgium, a very old man, told them a story, not once but many times, about a little girl named Esther Youngrice, who would come to his detention camp in Hungary before the Germans occupied Hungary, the Nazis. The Hungarian Gestapo, called the gendarmes, took all Jewish young boys into slave labor camps, and our city became the collecting point where the boys were gathered and shipped off. These labor camps were so so treacherous that very few people came back alive. You understand? So my father, as the rabbi of the city, obtained rights to visit them to conduct services. And one day, my father decided there's something that perhaps we could do. He called together all the Jewish physicians in the city for a meeting. He said, we have a big job. You have to try to discover some concoction, some formula that if you give to the boys would simulate an infectious disease but be totally harmless, so that the Hungarians should not deport them because the Hungarians won't want their troops to be infected. So sure enough, they came up with something. Now there was another problem. How do we get it to them? My father was searched. Anybody who went in there was searched. So my parents came up with an idea. I should accompany my father. I was a little girl. And my mother would sew into the lining of my coat the formula. And when no one would look, I would give it to them. If I would have been caught, I would have been killed. You understand this? It never entered my parents' mind that we should do anything but that. You have to save another Jew. You have to save the Jewish people. And that's how it was. That's Mesiras Nefesh. You have to save another Jew. There's a great Rebbe who is alive today in Williamsburg. Pregnant women were killed immediately. My parents were hiding her. They killed her husband. My mother delivered the baby in secret, telling the story very quickly. The baby was born. My father and mother were hiding the baby. And somehow fate arranged that that lady with the baby was taken to a concentration camp where my maternal grandfather was, a great Rosh Yeshiva. And my maternal grandfather took care of the baby, was hiding her. And just 2 months before the liberation, the Germans needed some money, so they made a deal. And people from my grandfather's camp were exchanged. And they were given papers to go to freedom. So a big truck came to take them. My grandfather was assigned a seat on that truck. My grandfather gave up his seat for this woman with the baby. She was seated next to a very elderly, great rabbi who lost his entire family. And this lady said, if God helped me to survive, I want to marry a great sage, even though he's much, much older, and serve him and be good to him. So she married this great Rebbe. He didn't have children. He was an old, old man. He died. And the baby grew up to be the Rebbe. When my mother passed away, this great Rebbe came to the funeral to eulogize her and to thank her. Because we are the children of Abraham, and nothing is too much for us to save another Jew, to save a life. So there was much discussion about Gilad Shalit. Should he be redeemed? Should he not be redeemed? It's a bad example. And these 1,000 animals are treacherous. They are not just killers, but they are barbaric. They slaughtered people. All the horrible crimes. The soldier that was chopped up and his body parts were thrown out of the window, and the people were dancing on his body parts until it became pulp. These were the guys who were released. For one little, skinny little soldier, Gilad Shalit. And you should forgive me. I respect him, I love him. A nerdy-looking soldier. Yeah, not a big, Yes or no? So are you crazy, Jews? Do you do that? It says, Kol hamekayim nefesh achas. Anyone who saves one life, Kilukim olam kula is considered as you saved the world. And the rest we leave to God. We have to do what we can to save life. And the rest we leave to God. But we dare not sit silently. Attempt the impossible, and the rest is up to God. But you must attempt. So I want to wish you all a good Chodesh, a good month. Hashem should be with every single person for blessing, for nachas. It's a new month. Hashem should give us chaim tovim, a good life, a blessed life, a life of dignity and honor. We are going to have chali in the lobby, delicious chali given as a gift in honor of Chaya Golda Fegel, Bas Yitzchok,